to CNOX News. On tonight's story, we'll be covering the rising gas prices. The demand for oil in the U.S. is constantly growing right now. Gas prices in New York State have skyrocketed, reaching almost $5 a gallon. Citizens are angry and struggling to pay for gas, some blaming President Biden, some blaming former President Donald Trump, and others blaming factors such as the effects of COVID-19. People are desperate for a drop in gas prices ASAP, and many will do the most to fight for this. Others fight against the use of gasoline due to the fuels emitted damaging our environment, contributing to the ongoing climate change issue. The government is currently petitioning for the Willow Project, which will be an oil drilling project along the north slopes of Alaska. This project serves a purpose to create and operate 5 or less drill pads for 250 oil wells. President Biden has showed some interest in approving this, which is very controversial, as many are deeply concerned for the already damaged environment, as this operation will cause an additional 9.2 million tons of carbon pollution to be released into the atmosphere each year. Environmentalists are calling on the EPA, the United States Federal Protection Agency, responsible for regulating and reducing environmental risks and protecting human health, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, responsible for managing the Endangered Species Act to protect the lands in Alaska. Intentions of the Willow Project are to end the United States' reliance on Russia for oil drilling as gas prices skyrocket and Russia gains monetary benefits for war with Ukraine. But will drilling on our own lands decrease prices? The consumer's real concern? Next up, Harper displaying her concerns over the current gas prices in New York State.
Today I'm here outside your local Stewart's with Harper Stevens. Now Harper, what is your stance on gas right now?
Well, I think it's just ridiculous. I can't live like this. Every time I come back here, it costs more and more to fill my tank.
And how often is that?
Almost every day at this point.
Why so often?
Well, I can't afford to fill my tank more than $10. With all the Starbucks I buy, I'm not going to have enough money to get my drink every day.
And how are you feeling toward the government in terms of current gas prices?
Well, back in the day, they tell me it was less than $2 a gallon. Now I'm pushing $5. It's a democratic duty for the government to consider public opinion. We're a democracy here in America. We need a change of policy, limitations on prices. We can barely get by in our own country.
Thank you for your time and addressing your concerns, Harper. We hope to see those prices decreasing soon. I'm glad you mentioned a change of policy. Next up, Molly Maloney describing the concerns both parties have for the increase of gas prices and the environment.
Perfect. All fall.
The GOP has been placing the blame of gas prices on President Biden ever since the COVID-19 pandemic put the nation teetering on the edge of a recession. Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, has announced his presidential bid for 2024. During the Q&A section of his press conference a couple months ago, DeSantis had this to say about rising gas prices across America.
So the question's about gas prices and inflation. You know what I could do? If you could give me a time machine to go back to January 2021, we would just do the opposite of what Biden has done, and we'd be in a better spot.
This remark is in reference to the Biden administration putting the kibosh on the restoration of Line 3 of the Keystone Pipeline. GOP Congress members have been in uproar ever since the Biden admin canceled the Keystone Pipeline in 2021. The restoration of Line 3 of the Keystone Pipeline was canceled on June 9, 2021, and was based in Alberta, Canada. The restored pipeline would have given Americans 700,000 barrels of oil a day straight to Texas refineries and would have given countless jobs to many Americans. The USA gets majority of its oil from Russia, and with the war in Ukraine, this pipeline would have brought down the price of gas astronomically. Environmentalists from the Democratic Party supported the end to this pipeline.
No time left to avoid raising past warnings the planet by more than 1.5 degrees Celsius, radically altering the planet and life as we know it. Rejecting the dirtiest fossil fuel is in the world should be a no-brainer. Make no mistake, they want to prioritize corporate profit over the lives of Indigenous women and the future of our planet.
Here, Ilhan Omar, Minnesota Democrat, urges President Biden to shut down Line 3 of the Keystone Pipeline. Progressive environmentalists use the argument that Line 3 of the pipeline would enter and destroy indigenous land by oil drilling. Biden listened to these concerns and shut down Line 3 of the pipeline in 2021 with an executive action. Originally, President Trump first granted a permit to TransCanada Keystone Pipeline during his administration to restore Line 3. When Biden came into office, he used his power to revoke the permit the previous administration granted. Now we switch to Lily with her investigative news story from Jerry from Alabama.
People are concerned about the uprising in gas prices, but how can they be driven down? Since COVID-19 passed, the demand for oil has greatly increased. But even more recently, Russia has used fossil fuel earnings to finance war with Ukraine. The United States has become hopeful for independence in the market. President Biden's administration has issued over 3,500 permits to drill on federal lands in his first year. But how is this affecting American citizens? Next up, a story from someone subject to oil drilling daily. Welcome, sir. How are you today?
Fine. How are you?
Doing well. Jerry Smith, correct?
Yes.
Wonderful. My name is Lillian Bosco. I understand that you have been subject to oil drilling in your community. Can you share the effects this drilling has on you?
Absolutely. Living down in Oak Grove Field, Alabama, we hear the drilling all day long. Now, as much as I hate the noise, I have more concern over health effects from the drilling. I'm not one to suggest involvement of the EPA or whatnot, but who knows what it can do without limitations.
Yes, that is an important concern. Have you come across any personal health effects from the drilling?
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, the temps up around here. Up and down all over. I'm sick of it. Not to mention my wife gets fatigued and complains to me about it all day. I get it too, I'll tell you. But I'm mostly concerned for the children. We're all breathing in this crap. Cancer causing chemicals and all.
How close is the drilling to your property?
It's on it. Problem is, I can't fight it because of the Fifth Amendment.
Can you explain to us how the Fifth Amendment is in use in your case?
Well, the Takings Clause states that when the government takes private property for the use of public benefit, like oil drilling, they gotta pay compensation to the property owner. The thing is, I don't want the money. I want my land.
So if I'm understanding correctly, the government is permitted to use private property for a purpose that benefits the public as long as they pay you compensation.
Correct. That's what they told me, at least.
Do you feel that this is a violation of your civil liberties living here in the United States?
Sure, I mean, they get to legally take my land from me. That being said, I suppose the violation isn't really considered one without compensation. They chose the compensatory pay based on the severity of the property loss. I sure do lose the use of my land, though.
Of course. Well, thank you for your time and story, Jerry. Best wishes to you and your family. Back to you.
Thank you, Lily. That will conclude today's investigative report on how oil drilling is affecting our citizens. Stay tuned next time to hear about gas prices internationally and the crisis in Ukraine.